What's up, guys? So I got a little note set right here I'm going to go through, but basically I'm just going to be discussing the application of the authorization of military force to a specific target, specifically listed in the presidential reference document. Um, the question is this a justified use of force from a domestic legal perspective? Why or why not? I believe this is a justification of domestic legal perspective, from a just legal perspective, due to strictly there's a public law article done by the 107th Congress. In Section 2, it states that the President is authorized to use all necessary and appropriate force against the nations, organizations, or persons he determines planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001, in such as well as harboring organizations or persons in order to prevent any future attacks of international terrorism against the U.S. by any nation, organization, or persons. This basically grants U.S. justification in the eyes of United Nations and other, big countries that might have a say in why or why not they can't do something. This interpretation of the scope of 2001 AUMF authorization of use of military force authority can be seen to fit within the overall framework of presidential power, including the military force. Organized armed groups that work with co-belligerents that work together with Al Qaeda against the United States are also targetable under this law. And lastly, the 2001 the authorization of military force authorizes the president to use military force against Al Qaeda and Taliban outside of Afghanistan. Now we see this later in 2011 when we found Osama bin Laden, and this kind of protects us under that clause that is completely justifiable strictly due to the specific individual target rather than general military action against that enemy force. That's my first argument. My second argument can kind of be found under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter Articles. Now I know this doesn't really kind of relate, but it does relate in a sense because the UN is something that is someone that, as a group organization, that the United States would have to justify its actions to. And Article 51, I feel like I keep going back to this as I have in past discussions, but nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent right of individual or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations. The United States is obviously a member of the United Nations, until the Security Council has taken measures necessary to maintain international peace and security. Measures by members in this exercise of this right of self-defense shall immediately report to the Security Council and shall in no way affect the authority and responsibility of the Security Council, blah, blah, blah. So basically, justifying this to the United Nations could also justify it to as a whole, just make justification as a whole. The fact that it's a specific target group, Al Qaeda, and the AUMF authorizes the president to use military force in order to prevent future actions of international terrorism against the U.S., especially organizations that perpetrate or harbor those who attacked Twin Towers on September 11, 2001. So in essence, I do believe that this is justified use of force from a domestic legal perspective.